Thank you, Dr. Bhatia, and it's an honor to be here today. My journey for the last 30 years of my career took 6 years in this hotel. So this hotel is very close to my heart, and that was when I used to be the area director and the general manager. And I've had some great interactions with Dr. Bhatia and the people in the room. And it's quite, I feel quite honored to stand here today and present to you guys on sustainable marketing trends. Hopefully we'll have a great immersive experience. So just to let you know a little bit about people who don't know, I come from the Indian Hotel Company, which is fondly called the Taj Group. And Taj Group has been in existence for 120 years. Our first hotel opened in 1903. That was at Taj Mahal, Mumbai. And we will be celebrating next year 120 years. And Taj as a brand has stood test of its time in all kinds of things and has been known for its warmth, culture, service, and also customer centricity. And we also have been very fortunate to get 2 awards this year, which is the world's strongest brand, hotel brand, and also India's strongest brand around all sectors. And that has been through Brand Finance. And I think it's an iconic year for us because the last 3 years haven't been great for our industry. And just like everybody's got impacted, but hotel industry got impacted quite badly during the pandemic. And as we moved out of it, it's what really saw us bouncing back was the love and affection of our people more than anything else, and the hard work and perseverance of our team, which kind of put in efforts to bring back the same hospitality. And we had to kind of stand back, put things brick by brick together. So today in my presentation, what I've tried to put together is what a perspective from our side, what we've been through, and some of my favorite things that I feel are going to be important factors to see us through for sustainable marketing in hyper world. And so hopefully I'll also show you a couple of clips of what we do. So it's going to be a mixed presentation, a little bit of world trends and a little bit about what we feel is important from our perspective. So the macro picture, we all know that it's been a very tough year. The last 2.5 years, we've had pandemic lockdowns, supply chain disruptions, which continue to happen. And most of the industry will continue to see that up to 2024. As the world leaders are saying, the supply chain disruption, which started with pandemic, has been further impacted by the war. And I think that's in a way leading to a lot of change in the way the consumption patterns all over the world are going on. Demand side upheavals. For our industry, demand and supply keeps going in cycles. So what happens is there are certain years when demand is up, and there are certain years when more hotels come up and supply takes over, and then again demand comes back, and then again supply comes back. And what's happened over the last 2 years is that we've gone through a cycle where we've had excessive supply. Then during the pandemic, we had completely the markets kind of shut down. So there were not enough hotels open. Now as we speak, the demand has come back, and I think this cycle is going to continue. So I think that's one thing which you will see in most of the industries. Emergence of a new normal. In our industry, we are seeing a large shift in terms of different trends which are kind of taking over, right from the way people's buying patterns to the usage pattern and so on. We also see that the consumer is far more well informed than what it was before. And when I say well-informed, 2 years all people did was sit at home and cook and read about food and beverages. So today our consumer understands food sometimes even better than our chefs. They're quite well read, and that's very interesting. E-commerce, I think we've all seen how e-commerce is becoming a mainline function. Even in our industry, we find e-commerce kind of taking center stage, and it will continue to do that. Health and well-being has become a priority. So most of the people who got impacted by COVID realize that health and well-being is important, and as they move on, that will continue to take center stage. People are spending more time, more effort on being healthy. People who've been impacted want to come back to their normal self. People who've not been impacted want to continue being healthy. So I think that's very important. And wellness orientation. So not just health and well-being, also there is a huge amount of wellness orientation. So we see there is a lot happening with respect to people trying to, try and do different kinds of practices for mind and body both, and that's likely to continue. We have also seen that spending quality time with friends and families become very important. So a lot of people, first thing that they want to do is travel with larger set of families. They want to catch up with friends, and that's where we are seeing newer models emerging. So it's not just a couple traveling, it's not just solo travel, it's a whole lot of gang of people traveling, and it can be of any kind. And I think that's something which is likely to continue because we are rediscovering our relationships. Pandemic also made us feel the importance of tribal culture, which means who are the people who are on our caravan. So people are actually making an effort to keep in touch and so on. And I think that's impacting our business in terms of having more larger set of people traveling. Then we also speak of higher digital adoption. Now, we heard a lot of digital conversation before my speech, and digital adaptation is being kind of, I would say, we've had almost 30-40x increase in digital adoption in India during the pandemic. So even where people were not able to, they did not have a choice, and that this digital adoption is going to continue. And we do see that becoming a main foray of how we do business and how do we reach and communicate with people. Every day there are newer forms of digital connectivity are emerging. Work from home lifestyle, I think work from home lifestyle will continue. Most people still work a couple of days from home. It's in a way good because it also helps you to do more, but it also gives you a 7 days kind of a week. Most people are also found working 7 days a week, 24/7, different time zones. There is also a bit of a psychological trauma that people are still coming out of. Specifically, for certain set of people, pandemic has been very hard on, and that actually means that the process of healing is still going on, and it's not that people are not out of it yet. And specifically, if you look at our guests in the European countries, they still have a far more, larger scars. We as Indians do kind of bounce back faster. Then revenge travel, and I think we've been seeing huge amount of revenge travel among the Indians, and this is likely to continue. We also are yet to welcome the international travelers, but we are expecting a revenge travel coming from there. So that's a trend which is likely to continue in our industry. And experience seekers, right? So suddenly we find these people that they're taking out their bucket list and saying, as they say, YOLO, you only live once, which means I want to take that trip. And I recently watched a very interesting movie where we saw some people in their 80s going up to the Everest base camp, and it's a reality. So, and I came back and one of my uncles said that this is what I'm planning to do, and I almost fell off my chair. And I said, are you sure? He says, yes, and I've actually done all the homework. I'm going to do this. This is what the time is going to be. So people are actually coming back and doing more and more experiences, filling up their bucket list, and I think this is going to continue. Not just that, also we are seeing that most of our travel is becoming more experience driven. People are not just living their experiences on themselves with the advent of social media. There is a lot of stuff which needs to go there. So the quality of what you do needs to be good enough to go on the Instagram, needs to be good enough to be shared with the world. And therefore, the way we do our business, the way we plan our hotels, the way we choose our destinations is all changing. And we see that becoming a key factor as we go ahead. So these are some of the macro trends which have been kind of going on in our industry. What do we see from here onwards? We do see that there is going to be a lot of release of demand in terms of wedding, fashion, lifestyle. So all these things haven't happened for a long time. So I just attended 2 events from some of the best magazines in our industry, Travel and Leisure, Condé Nast recently, and they've done their events after 3 years. We've had most of our destinations which can take MICE, which is specifically conferencing, full for the next 1.5 years. There is a lot of demand for weddings, not just the weddings which have to happen in the future, even the weddings which have happened and people just want to celebrate because they didn't get time to get together. So we see that as a trend is likely to come forward. There is a lot of return of business to office, so that's important for us because we do have about 30-40% of people from corporate industry, so they have to get to office, they have to start traveling various cities so that we get them back in the hotels. We're seeing a lot of shorter and frequent travel. So what used to happen in India about 3 years back was there would ideally be 2 holidays. pandemic actually made people do 5 or 6 holidays, because a lot of time the holidays just meant checking into a hotel over the weekend and checking out. But that trend is kind of continuing to happen. And now we are seeing an average family takes about 4 holidays, 4 to 6 holidays, and most of that could be anywhere from 3 days onwards to a one long holiday for 6 or 7 days. That again changes the kind of demand and the market that you are dealing with. We also think that, again, what we discussed, all things digital. So all the connections and payments, everything is getting digital. I mean, we've just seen what happened with tokenization. Most of our industry was thrown out of gear for a couple of weeks because the world was not ready for tokenization. But that's great thing about this government, that once they decide to do something, they go ahead, and then, kind of that brings in a change. And that's what we saw with digital payment, the UPI, tokenization. And I think we are in a very good space in the country with respect to the digitization. And we did hear something about what is going to happen with the consent. And I think we being from a similar industry, I feel very confident that a better data governance is going to bring in a better quality of data, and probably our utilization will go up. So I think that's one thing which we're all really looking forward to. Then we also see emergence of Be Leisure. Be Leisure is a term which, for people who don't understand, is for people who work and they also have their vacation together at the same time. We are seeing this becoming a huge trend, where people check into a hotel, they spend half of the time working and half the time is actually spent in holidaying with the family. And that's happening more so for people who are freelancers, who are consultants, who have time to do that. There are a lot of people who work from the resorts itself. So we are seeing this huge spurt of people who are checking into hotels for long durations. So the average days are 6 to 8 days. We also had a new brand called Ama Stays, which was launched 2 years during the pandemic, and a lot of people like to do that in those Ama Stays. We also see visa restrictions to continue. So I think that's great for us in a way, because the Indians are not escaping out. So of course, and in the same way, it's kind of continues to have more of domestic travel. So we see that continuing for the next 6 months, and that's going to have another impact on the business. And new business scape are emerging. So even in our industry, pandemic has completely disrupted. And we had 2 products that we launched during the pandemic which have completely changed the way we operate. One was a food delivery system, which then continued to grow to a QSR called the Cumin. If any one of you has not tried it, please download the app, and it's quite amazing. And the second is Ama Stays and Trails, which started as a small homestay business, which we initiated from our coffee plantation and tea plantations belonging to the Tata Tea and Tata Coffee. And today we have about 100 Ama Stays, and we intend to grow it up to 500 in the next 2 years. So that's a new style of business which has emerged, homestay. We choose unique destinations, and it's all-inclusive, completely immersive experience. So that's what we see as macro pictures to continue to do. Some other things, everything is not good. We also see a recession is kind of looming back in our backyard. So the global economy and inflation are becoming a big point of worry. And that's likely to impact not just our business, every other business that's similar like us. So, we've had a reasonably good stint over the last couple of months with pricing going up, rates going up, but now we are seeing that people are becoming a little more cautious with the pricing. Geopolitical conflicts, every day when I get back home in the evening, my wife laughs at me because first I see what happened with the Ukraine war. It's become an obsession. Not for any other reason, but because that impacts our business. So, 2 countries fighting a war far away from India has a huge impact on the Indian economy and so on, and all the other economies. So that's the nature of the one connected world. Support for local and sustainability. So we are seeing with the disruption in the supply chain, we were forced to go local. So a lot of things have actually have forced people to have their own industry and start things. And this is not just an Indian phenomena, it's a worldwide phenomena. In India, we see the same thing, and actually local adoption is very good, and we see an opportunity for India which we've never seen in the past. We also see sustainability as becoming as one of the key things, as a key driver in the future. ESG or CSR, as we called it in the past, is not anymore a point to use your surplus money on to look good, but it's actually most important for you to do your business. And I will take you through a slide later on that. We also see that There is going to be a lot of focus on experience-driven travel, which I spoke about earlier. And I keep talking about it all the time because experience-driven travel is going to be one of the key one of the most strong USP which will distinguish one hotel from the other. So we feel that you have to define a USP in what you do, be it a service, be it the kind of experience that you give, be it the way you treat your people. So I think that's something which is very, very interesting. We also see there is a lot of VFM, value for money seekers. So what started happening is that more and more people today want to, when you start traveling more often, they also want to see what is the value of money that they are drawing. So right from the kind of food that they get, a lot of all-inclusive packages, people like to maximize on the number of hours they stay in a hotel. They would like to know what the hotel has done for them, what they're taking back from the hotel. So I think that's one area with inflation and with more travel coming in is going to be a key trend to look at. And there's a little bit of metaverse in the travel. And so we recently launched a campaign where first time as Indian hotel company, we launched it in metaverse and we had a very good response. This is the campaign called She Remains the Taj. There is an excerpt of it which I'll show you in my presentation. And we actually were not able to have more than 100 people in the room because we launched it just at the time when opening up of the pandemic was happening. So we actually hosted the event for almost a week in the metaverse, and we had very good response. And I thought it was just a gimmick, but what people really came back and told us was quite good experience. So we do feel that there is a use case there. I mean, I would use the word use case because I'm not sure with Meta losing billions of dollars if that's really is going to be a business case, but for sure there's a use case. So that's our awards which we just spoke about. And so now, if I have to focus on creating a sustainable marketing in the hyper times, that's the topic of this conversation. I have picked up some of my favorite topics which I feel will help organizations to get a strong differentiation and reach their people and create products which are timeless and market them in a better manner. So I feel diversity, equity, and inclusion are three words which are very, very important for any industry to embrace with respect to marketing. So when I talk about diversity, we don't just talk of gender diversity anymore. It's diversity of all kind. That's why we say diversity, inclusion, and equity. And it also means that you're going to focus not just on different genders, you're also focusing on people from different ethnicity, you're also focusing on people from different genres of generations, you're dealing with people of different kinds in terms of consumption. And you would see in the Indian media that slowly people are moving towards from stereotype models being used to represent their brands to actual consumers. And I would not take too many names, but you would see that it's becoming a main line. And that's because you want to not just represent your brand in the most perfect manner. You're okay to go out and represent your brand to the real consumer. And you're okay to kind of connect with the people the way they are. And I think that's one of very powerful message. And as you move ahead, you will realize that it completely changes the game. So what we did was, somewhere in the beginning of this year, we launched a campaign called She Remains the Taj. There was no financial connect to the campaign. It was a campaign which was a sequel to our 20-year-old campaign, which was called She is the Taj. So if anybody of you remember that, you can go and, on the YouTube, you can find it. So it's called She is the Taj, and we said now we want to relaunch it as She Remains the Taj. And this was more done to pay our respect to all the ladies in terms of all stakeholders. So what we did was we said we are not going to use too many models for this. So we used our staff, we used our guests, and we used people who are our owners, who kind of were part of this campaign. And I'll show you a video of this campaign. It's quite interesting.
She is who she is. What matters is she. She chases the stars, spinning tales of her journey. Wondrous, wondrous, wondrous. She is here to make history her story. Sometimes stormy, sometimes sunny. She's always on the move. Fearless, free-spirited. She is bold. She is the spirit of change. She remains the Taj.
And as I said, this was a campaign which was launched only to connect with our customers, and you'll be happy to know that we had 250 million views of this campaign among all channels. And great conversions, so ever since we've launched it, the percentage of single women and women who kind of book with us has gone up by 5%. So I think sometimes you need to focus on certain areas and the results just happen. In the same way, the second most important thing, which has always been our raison d'etre or our reason for existence, customer centricity. Taj was always known for that. And I think that is going to continue to be one of your key differentiator. In our industry, just like all the other brick and mortar hotels, you could be exceptional if you have a personal connect with the guest. And trust me, despite of sitting in a marketing conference, we are still almost, I would say, a decade away from having a digital CRM and CDP and having the kind of basic things which international hotels have. But we still do a very good job, and that's because of our people. So we're developing it. It's not that we don't do that, but since our journey was slightly slowed down with the pandemic, our CRMs are all maintained by our employees who know you, who kind of keep track of you, who would note down what you like in their systems, and every time in and out when you come in, they are able to kind of deliver. Now imagine if I plug that into a all digital world, we could make some great difference. In the same way, exhibiting empathy is very important. And we call it a connect from the heart. We call it Tajness, which is the core of what we do. Empathy is always going to be a key driver. You need to understand your people. You need to put yourself in their shoes, not just in our business, in every business, because at the end of the day, customer is your end consumer. Sharing your successes, driving data, I think these are all very, very critical things when it comes to customer centricity. And I think customer centricity will continue to be one of the key focus pillars of anybody who wants to sell their products or deal with customers. Some other things, loyalty. Loyalty continues to be an important driver of business, and we are seeing that as you're getting digital, loyalty is going to become even a more bigger driver. We recently got our loyalty program merged with the Tata Group loyalty program called the Tata New. If anybody of you have not downloaded it, please download the app. It's quite amazing. It's intuitive. It's an e-commerce site which also provides a hook of loyalty, and there are 7 brands currently which are part of it. And in the future, you'll have another 3 added in. Now, see the power of loyalty. So when we were running our own loyalty program, we had about 2 million people who were part of our loyalty program. With Tata New today, just in 7 months, we have 40 million people who are connected to our loyalty program, and this is likely to go up to almost 2x in the next couple of months. So what really happens is that when you have a larger chunk of people that you can reach out to, your messaging, you are more aspirational, and of course it's those extra 5-6% points which really are important for people to continue to deal business with. So loyalty will continue to be a key driver, and I think if anybody is planning to spend money on loyalty engines, that will be a key differentiator. In addition to that, now we are seeing not just single loyalty, we are also seeing loyalty programs which are co-joined or co-hosted, and that's what Tata Neu does to us. We also feel that topicality is going to be very important, which means exhibiting and communicating agility, converting opportunities. There's a lot of work happening with respect to how you are reaching your customers, how are you going to convert them. And I think in that field, you will see a lot more change coming in as the time goes by, because everybody's been sitting on the fence, but there's a lot of data available. We know a lot about what people want, and how you connect it to the organization, what you do, where you belong. I think that's very, very important. The third most important aspect, which I strongly believe, and as Tata's and as Taj Group, we've always kind of put in, and that is ESG, which is environment, social, and governance. Now it's called ESG, it was called CSR earlier. In fact, for us, our group, we spend a lot of profits back into the society. And we launched our own ESG program at the beginning of this year, which is called the Pathya. And I can tell you that in the organization, it's been such a strong value, purpose-driven concept that today everything that we do, automatically employees come forward to you and say, hey, can I kind of connect this to Pathya? And what we did was we picked up 6 different parts of how we wanted to connect to the world with respect to Pathya, and I'll show you a little movie on that. But you know, ESG can provide you with purpose, and if that purpose served well, it could help you to stitch all the stakeholders and bring in a great amount of not just a marketing opportunity, also an opportunity of how you can connect your people together, how you can make the organization a purpose-driven organization. And I'll show you a movie on the same. So the interesting thing is we try and incorporate Pathya into everything we do, just like we spoke about Tajness. So right from our uniforms, which are sourced in a manner that it helps and supports the weavers, to the water that we keep in the room is recycled, is made ourselves, so we don't kind of use plastic, to the next level of our initiatives in terms of the carbon waste that we do. We also have something called as Earth Check in about 90 hotels where we've reached the platinum level. So everything that we do is around Pathya or around ESG. And I think that provides a strong purpose to the organization. We recently were having our offsite in terms of figuring out what are the next 5 years are going to be for our strategy. And when we took a vote in the room that what would people like to choose as a sense of purpose, we were very surprised to see that 60% people wanted to choose ESG or Pathya as the purpose of the organization, not just as the purpose of themselves. So I think that also leads you to be able to be a preferred employer, and people who are interested in employer branding, I think it also gives the employees a purpose to work in. And it's already always been said that employees like to go to work to organizations where they can do more than just get a salary and serve somebody else's purpose. So I think that's very important. Some other areas, immersive experiences, very important. I've spoken thrice in my presentation on experiences and experiential travel. I think keeping yourself connected to Sometimes it's about your heritage, sometimes it's about your culture, sometimes you need to kind of sell the story that you want the customers to be excited about. And we found that sweet spot in terms of marketing India to the Indians in a different manner. And what we did was we went to the Ministry of Tourism at the time of the peak of the pandemic when market was opening up. We realized that Indians had started traveling. So we went to the Ministry of Tourism and borrowed Dekho Apna Desh phrase from them. And we ran a campaign around it, which tried to show the Indians India what they have not seen. And I'm very happy to share that we had 3 different campaigns which ran almost about 6 to 8 months. One of them was 4D, which ran during the time of the peak of pandemic, which was around travel and drive, right? So drive and stay in our hotels. Second was called Dekho Apna Desh. And third one was around festivals of India. And we see that there's a far higher emotional connect when you market your own heritage and your own culture to Indians. Now, usually sometimes we feel that it's boring, but actually it's not boring. Specifically for the younger generation, because they haven't seen it in the manner that they would like to see it with you. So we'll quickly show you a video on that too. And also innovation. I think innovation will continue to be a key driver for marketing. You have to be serving surprises to your people all the time, because at the end of the day, in the Instagram world and in the digital world, whatever you do is copied very quickly. Some of us all go back to take inspirations from each other. So actually you realize that in the field of, in our field, a website would used to in the past change once in 4 years. Today it changes once in 4 months. So, a refresh of the look and feel. So that's the kind of speed of execution. So I think you need to continue to innovate in that field. People are continuously looking for what's new, and everybody's searching for trends. So that's one thing which is very important. And you will have to keep innovating, not just to kind of engage with a sense of look. It has to be engaged in all senses. So in our field, it's important because we give a sensorial journey when you stay in a hotel. So it's not just your stay, it's about food, it's about the kind of perfume that you use in the lobby, to the kind of look and feel of the music. So everything. I think that innovation is very critical, and you need to continuously focus and move towards innovation. We'll show you this campaign.
देखो अपना देश, देखो क्या नज़ारे हैं, मिट्टी ने अपने हाथों से संवारे हैं। देखो वो कश्ती और झील की जुगलबंदी, देखो वो नीली दीवारें टेढ़ी मेढ़ी, देखो वो इंतजार करती नजरें, देखो अपना देश, देखो क्या नज़ारे हैं। देखो वो लाइट्स कैमरा एक्शन वाला अंदाज, देखो वो तराशी हुई कहानियां, देखो वो मुस्कुराते हुए चेहरे, देखो अपना देश, देखो क्या नजारे हैं। देखो वो कभी ना उतरने वाला रंग, देखो दोस्ती का नया ढंग, देखो टिमटिमाता आसमान, देखो झिलमिलाती जमीन, बुला रही हैं वो गलियां, बुला रही है वो सुबह। आइए देश के सफर में फिर से अपनी मंजिल को खोजें। देखो अपना देश।
This is one of my favorite campaigns because we did 3 things in this. One, we were authentic to ourselves, and this was the first Hindi campaign that Taj has ever done, which means it was in the Hindi language. Second, we used authenticity, so the voiceover was of a colleague who works in the office. We said, we don't want anybody fancy who should look orchestrated. And the third thing is that it's completely immersive in terms of it touches your heart, and actually a lot of people, when they saw this, they said, please send us a list of where all you have the hotels, because we would like to come and explore our nation. So I think it struck the right chord, and that's why it's very important to be immersive and experiential. The other things which are likely to continue to happen, and we've heard a lot about it, artificial intelligence, I mean, I don't need to talk too much. We're all getting more and more swift. We are all getting more accurate. We're all getting very predictive, right from the mobile phones to Siri and Alexa, which listens to us, to every conversation that we are having comes on our phone in a few minutes. And to the extent that it's becoming boring and it's becoming irritating, and that's where I said, I think some kind of governance over there is important. I should not be shown what the AI says. I should be shown what I want. So that's where the consent and getting the right data is important, and hopefully we will move to that. We all started with bombarding people with information, but I think it's the quality is becoming more of a preference. And actually some of us would even be okay to pay for it, right? So if today Apple or Google comes to you and say that I'm okay to kind of show you what you are looking for and I'll charge you a small fee, I'm sure a lot of people in this room would be okay to do that, because then at least you're not being bombarded with information which is of the other kind. So I think that's very important. This is a debate which can actually go on for a full call. The third, video marketing is very important. We are seeing with 5G coming in, with better quality mobile phones, with everything kind of changing, everything is going video. And that's good, and it's expensive. So I think we will have to embrace it. There's no choice. And you did see that sometimes we smartly use cinematographs instead of videos. But we do see that most of the content will shift to video content in the future. And we all need to invest into it. And as much video content you can shoot, it could be either yourself or it could be user-generated. I think that's going to be one very important thing. Influencer marketing continues to be a key factor. ROI on influencer marketing is a question which I always wonder, because we have petite budgets. Of course, with companies which have larger budgets, it makes a difference. But I think it's going to continue, and we have to find smarter ways of influencer marketing, not just going for the big ticket guys whose paychecks keep going higher. Rather, we have to also start looking at our own people becoming influencers. And at the IHCL, we do a lot of work around it. Most of our employees who have great fan followings are our influencers. So are our guests, and so are our customers or other stakeholders. So we try and incorporate that. I have a small video over here which shows you also about how we are trying to move everything to digital, to video marketing, because we also feel that we are able to connect to people better. Of course, it has to be short and it has to be kind of crisp. So we've just launched this campaign called Tajness, Warmer Welcomes to Fond Farewell. There's a series of it, and it basically talks about how we welcome you, and there's another series on how we kind of give you fond farewell. And I think it's extremely important to touch the chord and show a lot of emotional content. So some of the last things, big data, I think that's very, very important for us to capture every data point of what our customers do. As I said, we are still nascent in this journey, but some of our industry superiors who've been doing a very good job with it are able to sell more, are able to save more. They do a lot of work around with big data. And I think that for sustainable marketing, big data will continue to grow. Integrated marketing from search and discovery to buy in an instant. I think omni-channel, making sure that we are integrated with all kinds of our people is very, very important. And this is, most of the people are doing it. So, I mean, I would not, as I said, these are some of my favorites. But we definitely need to continue working on integrated marketing. And then virtual reality, gamifying consumer interactions. People have started using it. In India, the adoption is slightly slow, but as I did tell you that we've done some work on metaverse and we saw some very good results. But we do feel that as we move ahead, you will see a lot of stuff happening in this. Specifically in our industry, few hotels which are very experiential, when we go to sell them in trade shows, we do show our buyers VR sets to kind of go through the hotel, which are shot in a manner with drones and so on, where you could take a full experience in about 35, 40 seconds. And specifically in our industry, it's extremely important. We are seeing that also happening a lot in fashion. We're seeing a lot of that happening in also interior designing and so on. So I think VR is something which is worth investing. Again, it's extremely expensive. So we start with caution and we try and do that for products which are superlative, because it's not much fun to do it for a place which is not going to be worth it. So thank you. So these are some of those points that I thought I would like to share as my favorites and what we are doing with respect to continue to be sustainable in difficult times. We have some time, so I'll be happy to take a few questions on Indian Hotel Company or marketing in general.
Anybody who likes a question, you please raise your hand. We'll have a mic given to you, and before they come, I have the privilege to ask you, sir, isn't sustainability a mindset? All said and done, unless you're determined to make it happen, you just cannot make it happen. Your comment.
Yeah, so what you said is 100%, I agree with you. It has to be a mindset, and I mean, I would say that for both. So if you want to continue to sustain your results, you want to continue to sustain with the kind of business that you want to do, so you need to have sustainable models. And I personally feel that it's not a destination, it's a journey, which means you might have short-term goals, but as an organization, you need commitment. And you also need to get all stakeholders on the table, and sometimes it's also, when you play a long-term game, as my friend Simon Sinek says about infinite games, you need to look at the larger goal, and probably it would take you longer to do, and it might burn money, but you need to do it in that manner.
All right, one more. The India that you dream, and one thing you want to happen in this country in the next 3 years.
Oh, quite
no,
a few.
I like your smile, but I need an answer.
Yeah, so I mean, I could talk of things which, okay, so I'll say top 3 things. I look at an India where people could get clean water, better roads, and better accessibility to education. I think that's what I personally feel, and that's very important. We're very primal in our needs as we speak. It's not about the people in this room, but it's about the rest of, I would say, 1 billion people outside. So I think that's one thing which we need to do first.
Absolutely. Parveen Kumar Chander, you've been brilliant. Ladies and gentlemen, I couldn't have expected more. Big round of applause right in the center.